This is episode 5 of the Chalk Dinosaur podcast.
I've got a new album that I just released. It's called Sunset, and it's available on all platforms. It's a compilation of electronic music compositions that I've been, compiling over the last year. Some of the ideas are as much as 4 years old. I think the two oldest ideas I did in 2015, and then a lot of them kind of just been hanging around until after the full band album was done, which is called Sprout, I wanted to finish all these ideas that I liked, but were, at the about 80% done mark, which is a really hard place to close out that last 20% to make it feel done. What is done anyway? That's all in your head. What's done? Basically, done is, you feel like you've made it the best you can make it. Basically, done just means you're accepting it the way it is. I could have kept tinkering with these for more time, but I feel like I had reached the point of diminishing returns in terms of having them opened up and trying to make them better. And I think at a certain point, it actually starts to go backwards and they start to get worse. At least for me, because, something will sound good and I'll keep adjusting it and tinkering it and it'll start to sound different, and then I won't be able to get back to the way it sounded before. I tried out some new mastering techniques and some new mixing techniques. I figured this would be a good album to kind of try and learn some new things, try some new things that maybe push the envelope a little bit with the mixing and mastering processes to try and get better. I mean, I'm always trying to do that, but there's always a balance between trying new techniques and playing it safe and doing, safer methods that are tried and true. But yeah, I kind of wanted to try and learn some things. This would be a good album to experiment with. The mastering, I'll do an episode on that to go more in depth with it, but I was trying more saturation plugins and clipping plugins, which I'll explain in a different podcast that's technically oriented, so people can listen to that if they want to hear it, but they don't have to sit through that technical jargon if they don't want to hear it. But anyway, yeah, new album, Sunset, 17 tracks. It's the 18th Chalk Dinosaur release, and super excited to have that released. Also, there's a show coming up on November 1st at the Rex Theater. We're going to be opening for a producer from Denver called Manic Focus. He does kind of like high energy electro funk, little bit of kind of dubsteppy, like hard, heavy, high energy, funky beats. So, for that show, we're gonna do the more electronic Chalk Dinosaur music, which is what me and my brother Nick do as a two-piece. Or if I play a show solo, those are the kinds of songs I'm playing, the more electronic kind. So yeah, we're planning on playing some songs from the new album. And and then we got another show November 15th at the Thunderbird with Different Places in Space. And one of my musical idols, Misaligned Mind, with Zach Wiesinger, who's been maybe the biggest guitar influence in my life. So that should be awesome. You got to see him. And that'll be a full band show because, that'll fit that show a lot better than the electronic stuff. So that's the pro of having these different forms to work with. I can play more shows. If it's an electronic show, we do the 2-man or solo. If I'm playing with a DJ or a hybrid type electronic music with some live musical elements, there's a lot of acts like that these days. So we can fit in with that, and then we can fit in with the live band, the full band type sound, more jam type music, rock music. The drawback is I think it's kind of hard to market, and it's hard to it's just, I feel like it could be confusing for listeners unless unless you're like a somebody who listens a lot and has familiarized themselves with kind of the way the Chalk Dinosaur universe operates, which is all these different parallel things happening, all these different parallel forms. But yeah, it could be confusing to someone who listens to Flow State, then comes to see us and sees us play Sprout, or vice versa. So I don't know. Just trying to keep it interesting for me, because if I lose interest, then no way in heck I'm gonna be able to, project. I don't know. I've got to stay interested, because I know that if I'm watching somebody and they're very interested in what they're doing and passionate about what they're doing, I'm more interested and I absorb what they're putting out. So, I think that's crucial. If I wanted to do something more focused, I've considered creating another artist entity to do some kind of very narrow, specific genre of music. Something I'd still consider. It's a constant dilemma, or not dilemma, like debate between I kind of like having everything I do under one name, so it's all in one place. But, releasing music under a different artist entity of a very specific style, like if I made like a chill wave artist entity or like a house music one, that would, in many ways be that would be cool too. But I got my hands full trying to manage this one, so yeah, I don't know. And first things first, you gotta if I were to do something like that, I need to decide what specific genre I wanted to explore, and then make the music, and then I could figure out the rest after the music is there. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Yeah, so new album and show. Now let's get down to the recap from weeks 3 and 4 of this lifestyle design experiment that I've been doing, where I've made 7 daily practices that I do, and I've tried to adhere to them strictly for a month, and today is the last day. So in case you didn't hear any of the previous episodes, the 7 things I was trying to do every day was wake up at 4:30 in the morning, meditate for 15 minutes, journal 3 pages, exercise for 1 hour, write a task list for the next day, the night before I go to sleep, and no alcohol, cigarettes, or recreational drugs. So, did I say a gallon of water? Drink a gallon of water a day. Yeah, that was a part of it too. So there's 7 things there. And, so the verdict is in. This month of October was highly, highly productive. I feel like I really cranked out a lot of material this month with the album, the podcast, the music video for the album, the well, I'd have to look at my task board. Yeah, I made this task board in my room. I got the idea from Silicon Valley, that show where they've got that task board where they got the sticky notes, and like when they're done with the task, they move it over to the done side. That looked pretty satisfying. So I made one, and it is very satisfying, and I like it, and I'm definitely keeping it. So I've kind of used the task list, the daily task list. So that's for my daily stuff. You know, what am I trying to get done that day? And then the task board is for bigger, longer term, more involved tasks. So stuff like, you know, releasing Sunset, the new album. That was a sticky that was up there. And then under that sticky, I had all these other slightly smaller tasks that were involved in the release, you know, like upload to all platforms, like finish all mixes, finish all masters, register with ASCAP, create album cover, create graphics for all the social media websites, stuff like that. So I kind of had the big sticky, and then I had like all the little stickies. So I got all the little stickies over onto the done side, and then I was able to move the big sticky over. They're not actually bigger and smaller in size. They're just, you know, bigger or smaller in job size. Yeah, so I like that a lot. But yeah, keeping a daily list has been very helpful in staying focused and making sure I'm not getting off track. I got a little bit off track today, researching Hawaiian shirts. For some reason, well, actually, I know exactly why, but I had the urge to get a Hawaiian shirt, and there were two causes for this, I believe. My older brother Mike planted the seed a couple months ago, probably. He sent me a video. I think it was Hayden James or some DJ or producer. He's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. He was like, John, you should get a Hawaiian shirt. And I didn't get one then, but the idea was in there. And then I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Brad Pitt wears that Hawaiian shirt. I'm like, man, maybe I should get a Hawaiian shirt. So I did. And yeah, I'm gonna wear it at the show, assuming it fits right. And yeah, you know what? They're back. Well, maybe they're not. I don't know. I have no idea. I went shopping yesterday because I wanted to get some newer clothes that weren't a t-shirt. You know, a t-shirt and shorts, which is basically what I've been wearing for the last 10 years. Some variation of that. So as you can see, I'm wearing a shirt with buttons on it. That's unusual for me. And I got this shirt yesterday. I was pretty excited about going shopping because I never do it. But I quickly remembered the usual pattern where I'm like kind of excited at first, and then I become very indecisive about what I like, or have trouble finding a piece of clothing that I like, and then I'm trying all these things on, and then end up like spending a lot of time there, and then by the end I'm like, I gotta get out of here now, and I gotta go. So yeah, went to the new place, The Block. That's like the renovated Northway Mall. So yeah, you know, I wanted to check out that Nordstrom rack. And you know what? I'll tell you what. Marshall's has a pretty decent candle deal. The Village candle. It's the poor man's Yankee. It's northern pine scented. It's smelly enough. And it says it's got 170 hours of burn time. So, heck, that's way more than any of the other candles I've been getting. So, I'll have this warm glow keeping me company here at the desk for hopefully 170 hours. But yeah, man, I went to Urban Outfitters, and I kind of got the feeling I think I'm too old to go there now, or either I'm too old or I'm too not stylish to go there. I noticed, okay, I almost bought my first pair of skinny jeans today at, where was it? I think it was at Nordstrom. So I was super, if I would have got them, super late to the game on that. But yeah, finally, it took me a few years, but I'm like, oh, I kind of like the way these look. The skinny jeans, I'd always been averse to them. But I would try these on. I'm like, oh, I kind of like how this looks. I didn't get them, but yeah, I went to Urban Outfitters, and it's so fascinating how fashion just cycles. It's so crazy, because there, the big thing that I'm seeing, and I don't know how long these have been a thing, but now I'm seeing dad jeans, literally, quote, dad cut jeans. And basically they just look like bigger jeans that don't fit right, because they like come up above your shoe. They're like short, wide jeans. That just made me laugh. And if you wear dad cut jeans, don't take it personally. I'm sure some people pull it off. I am not one of those people that could do that. Maybe I could. I don't know. But yeah, I couldn't imagine those looking good on me. So that was funny. Dad cut jeans. Like, how long is it going to be until we're seeing the Jenko jeans come back? I don't know if you remember those, but yeah, this is probably in the early to mid 90s, where big jeans were the cool jeans, like really big, and they kept getting bigger and bigger till they had these Jenko jeans, and I swear each leg was probably like as wide as a waist, the waist of the jeans. Like, it was basically like a dress with a septum, or wait, is that what it's called? Yeah, a dress with a septum in the middle for your legs. But yeah, I mean, now that I've seen the cycles of tight, loose, for clothes, and just like 80s are back, 90s are back, 2000s are going to be back soon. I wouldn't be surprised if the massive jeans come back as being cool. So whenever we see Brad Pitt wearing Jenko jeans, we'll know. Okay, so anyway, back to my experience with this. Kick some major buttocks this month. Got so much stuff done. One of the most striking things I noticed about how I felt physically and mentally during this month was that I needed less sleep, significantly less sleep, to feel good. So, I mean, yesterday or 2 nights ago, I only got 5.5 hours. And normally, that would be a real struggle for me. I feel like I'd feel like crap all day. But I was fine. I was totally fine all day. Didn't feel tired. That's another thing. The energy is very consistent. So I'm not getting these mid-morning or mid-afternoon dips where I just want to like lay down and take a nap. I don't get that, which is really interesting. And there have been several, this isn't just a one-time thing either. There have been several nights, and on some weeks, several nights in a row where I'm only getting 6.5, maybe 6 hours of sleep, that's less than optimal for, what I needed before this month. And if I had to guess, I'd say a lot of that's because I'm not yo-yoing. So I'm not, paying my party tax on the weekend. Or no, you get the analogy, like drinking, staying up late, just like getting out of my rhythm on the weekend and then trying to get back into it. Like, I feel like that has a lot to do with it. Maybe the water has something to do with the exercise. Maybe the quality of sleep I'm getting is better, so I need less of it. In any case, that was a pretty cool effect, and it's been repeatable. But let's see, the meditation. This one still, I need some work on this because I am finding that I must have let myself go for too long because I'm very, very distracted. I find even in the morning when I meditate first thing, and then my thoughts are just like racing to get out of the gates, and trying to not be engaged in those is a real challenge. And it has been getting a little better, with practice, since it is a practice. But yeah, I find that I'm just usually bombarded with thoughts and ideas and good stuff, but still distracting me from what I'm trying to focus on. And ultimately, that skill of being able to focus and being aware of when you're getting sucked off track. That was a weird way to put it. But getting distracted by thoughts and stuff. Being able to be aware of that so you can stay focused on your task. That's kind of one of the main points for me. To be less controlled by the spontaneous thoughts. So, yeah, I found myself really getting a lot of ideas when I was meditating, like, oh, this would be a good thing to talk about in the podcast. Like, I had a lot of ideas for the podcast when I was meditating. I also had ideas for videos, videos and podcasts were the main distractions of what I was thinking of. Or even just a lot of stuff. So I think I need to reread the book that kind of served as my guide for this, which was a book called Mindfulness in Plain English, which that's one of my favorite books. It's like the perfect amount of information on like the philosophy of it, but not too much. And it's balanced with practical application. And yeah, it's just a great guide. It's just the perfect amount of information. And it was enough information that I felt like, okay, I don't need to read another book for a while until I feel like I've fully maxed out the information that's in this book. And I haven't done that, not even close yet. So, obviously it's better to get a wider range of sources, but I really liked this book and the way it presented everything, and kind of the way that it's not telling you to believe a certain thing or think a certain way. It's really giving you practical methods to explore it yourself and to find these things out for yourself, which I like. And yeah, it's nice. It doesn't get too esoteric, or I don't know if that's the right word, ethereal. It doesn't get too out there where like I can't connect with the information, or I have to really, it can all be applied very easily. And it was a really comforting book. The ideas in that book really made me feel a lot more comfortable with the idea of facing the inevitable challenges and adversity that life is going to bring. It made me feel like, if I really understood and practiced the ideas in this book, that I would be much better equipped to handle difficult life situations. So anyway, it was like a comforting feeling. I've noticed my exercise. So my criteria for this month was exercise for 1 hour a day. Very general statement that could, some days I just run drills behind the oxygen plant behind our house. I just like do all kinds of running motions. Some days I'll just do running and stretching. Other days I'll go climbing, and then I'll do some lifting. Occasionally I'll just do all climbing. I think there's only like 2 days where I did that, just 100% climbing, but usually it's like weightlifting and climbing. But yeah, I didn't designate a time of day to do the exercise. So I started out, almost first thing in the morning. I think I did the meditation and journaling first, and then I did exercise. But I just kept pushing it back. So then I was like, no, I want this early time. I want to knock out some music stuff first. Because that's more important to me, at least in my head, which I want to talk about later, about that way of thinking and how that's not a good way. So yeah, then I was like, all right, I'll do like before lunch. Like I'll work all morning, and then I'll work on music all morning, and then I'll work out before lunch. And then I get home, eat a big lunch. And then I was like, all right, I'll do before dinner. And then before you know it, it's literally the last possible hour that I can do it. I'm doing it. And if I hadn't kind of made this plan of wanting to do it every day, I would totally have just skipped it on those days where I find that it's like 8 o'clock, 8:30, and I still haven't worked out yet. So in those situations, I'd just like run out the door and just start running, go run to the oxygen plant where there's like a big open pavement area, and I'd just do some running drills, which I really like that. Partially, I've always liked running movements more than just straight up jogging. I've never ever really felt drawn to jogging, but I do feel drawn to doing shorter distance, higher intensity running, or like more varied running movements. So we're talking about high knees, butt kickers, power skips, lunges, karaoke, the shuffle thing, back pedal. We're talking about all these different movements, and that's just more interesting for me. And I'm definitely, very out of breath by the end of any of these running sessions. So it's more like interval stuff is what I gravitate towards, because I'm I think I'm a fast twitch kind of guy. Those slow twitch fibers, I don't know if I have them. I don't know if I have very many of them, because jogging is always I've dreaded that. So kind of just do whatever I can to avoid it. It's probably not a good thing, but what can you do? One thing at a time here. First things first, just get the exercise in. Second thing, tune it up. Yeah, so, today is the last day. Tomorrow I can do whatever I want and not feel like I'm breaking this little thing I committed to doing, breaking my commitment. That's what I was trying to say. What am I going to do? I think I'm just going to keep doing the same thing, because I really like the way that it's been feeling. I like the momentum that it's been giving me, and the focus and the consistency. I like all these things. So I think I'm going to keep doing it. I think I might be a little more flexible with it. And I think I might focus on some different things. Might make some adjustments, focus on some different things. So, what are the adjustments or things I might change for November? Well, I still want to get up early. I might shift it back a little bit so I can do things like go jam with other musicians who are playing late at night and not have to fluctuate my sleep schedule a ton. So I got to figure out a kind of an ideal time. And if there's days that there's something going on late and I stay up for it, I maybe I'll keep it early and just make those exceptions for those types of things. Although that's a very slippery slope, if I start changing my schedule for these things, then I just know that could quickly lead back to the kind of schedule I don't want to have. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to consider that. I've really just been trying to squeeze more than I can into the days, and that's what's been getting me in trouble. There was like maybe 2 days where I overslept, and those were after, and it was for a good reason, so I'm okay with it. I was working on a music video for the song Stargazer off the new album, and I hadn't really dove deeply into a video project for a long time. I did a lot of video in high school. That was what I envisioned that I would be doing as a profession after, college, but I didn't get into the film school that I applied to, and then I kind of just like chose something different, and then I ended up finding music. But yeah, I remember how much fun I used to have. So much fun making videos, and we would just make like funny, stupid videos, me and my friends, and some of the most fun times of my life have been doing that, and some of the hardest laughter and just pure joy has been, a lot of it's come from, has been in those situations where you're deep in a video project, deep in an idea, and it just, for some reason, it's just so hilarious when you're working on something and you come up with stuff that you think's funny and just be goofy in front of a camera. So anyway, I hadn't gotten into a video editing project in a while, and I got kind of taken by surprise, and I ended up, like very deeply engaged creating this video. And in the video, I paid someone on Fiverr to dance in front of a green screen, and it was great because it was like a pretty well lit green screen, so like the green screen effect worked well, and then all these light bulbs started going off about different things I could do with footage that was filmed in front of a green screen, like multiplying the people and mirroring them and like making silhouettes and creating custom backgrounds. So I was making like frame by frame animations for the background. I just started getting all these ideas, and it started to get really fun, and I didn't want to go to sleep. So, and I was still exercising some restraint. So I could have stayed up all night on one of these occasions and totally ruined my next day, or two, but I didn't. But I did stay up later, and then I ended up sleeping through my alarm. But woke up, just did what I had planned to do that day, and it was okay. And it was only 2 days, maybe 3 days. I slept in a little bit till like 7 or 8. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to get sucked into the video process, but it was fun. And it was fun to be creative in that medium. What else would I do? So one of the first things I said was that during this month it seemed like I needed a lot less sleep to feel good all day. So, 5.5, 6 hours was no problem this month. But I was listening to Matthew Walker, the sleep researcher. He was on Rhonda Patrick's podcast, and I was listening to that episode, and he's just going on and on about all these crucial, vital things that happen in sleep and how much better your brain functions when you get enough sleep. So it made me curious, what would it feel like if I prioritized my sleep a little more? So I think for the next month, I might prioritize 8 hours every night. And just, obviously sometimes you might wake up, you can't make yourself fall asleep at the right time, but put myself in the position to get 8 hours of sleep a night. I'm curious what that'll do and how I'll feel about that. Maybe, so I'd be losing an hour of productive time, but it could be one of those things that I need less time to do the same tasks because my brain is more focused and working better. So yeah, I think I might try prioritizing sleep. I'm considering splitting up my exercise. So instead of doing an hour every day, doing an hour 4 days a week, and then doing half an hour 3 days a week. I still have to consider this. I don't want to slide too far. I think the important thing is daily. But if I could just run out my door, go run a little bit, be back in, just do that for 3 days a week, that would save me some time. And I think I'd still be that would still be accomplishing a lot. Because let's be honest here, I'm not training for an event. I'm not competing in anything. I'm not a professional athlete here. I'm just trying to develop good exercise habits because that's going to be more, that's going to keep me healthier for longer. There's no doubt about it. And I think I've been doing this and I'm going to keep doing it, but I need to prioritize, within the exercise realm, prioritize the strengthening of the back and the flexibility, strength of the back, the glutes, the hamstrings, and flexibility of the whole posterior chain, the whole backside of my legs and stuff, for good posture, which is actually really crucial. And earlier when I said, working on music and stuff is more important than working out, and I kind of took it back, and here's why I take it back. Because if I'm not in good enough shape to sit at my desk with good posture for the many, many hours that I do that, I'm not going to be able to work because I'm going to have back problems. And, I've gotten a taste of it. And when you can't sit at your desk to work on something for more than, a certain amount of time before it really starts to become distracting, that's an issue I need to take more seriously because, then it really is, keeping me from doing what I want to do. So actually the health is more important than the music. and it should be prioritized like that. So let's see what else we got here. Now that the album's done, I feel the great sense of relief of having this project out of my hands, out of my head. It's no longer taking up space in my thoughts, in my day. It's very relieving because for so long you're just kind of tinkering with these and hammering away at these, trying to get them to sound as good as you can. And it just feels so good to be done with them. And now they're just cemented. You know, I'm sure I'll enjoy listening to them a lot over the years. And now I can start working on the next one. Which I'll tell you right now, I have one about 70% done, maybe 75% done. It's going to be a shorter album, and it's going to be song-based. So it's all going to be music that's more focused around vocals and lyrics. And it's going to be of varying styles. So some of it's electronic, some of it's more acoustic or rock oriented. But the common thread is lyrics and vocals, which I haven't been doing much of lately, but I do enjoy doing, and I get a lot of fulfillment from. The thing about doing those is when there's an expectation to perform them, a lot of times when I make songs with words and vocals, I really love making the recordings, layering, doing a lot of rich harmony and like a lot of different vocal things. And I just can't do that live. So whenever I play songs live with vocals, it's always like, it's not as good as the recording. Whereas when we play songs from Sprout, the album, as a full band at a show, I feel like it is better. Those are better performed live. And so it's not that I don't think I can do that with vocally driven songs. I just haven't really found the right range, style, I haven't found my voice in a live setting yet. And that would just take time dedicated to finding that. And I just haven't done that. I haven't spent time just singing and playing the guitar, performing songs and singing, it's just one of those things that, if I did it, I'd get better at it and I'd learn a lot, but I don't do it because, balance is, it's hard to find balance, when you're, guitar. I want to be a good guitarist. I want to improve. To improve, you got to practice. And the same thing with keyboards, like piano, or just, I would love to be better at that, like organ, being able to play clav stuff. That takes time and practice. Drumming, I love drumming. I would love to be a great drummer. Takes time, practice, do that. Same thing with voice. Same thing with music production. Same thing with songwriting. Same thing with bass. I love bass. I would love to get better at that. All these things, you could dedicate a lifetime, and people do, a lot of people do, to any one of these instruments. Or, mastering, production, any of these things you could completely focus your lifetime diving into. But, there's just not enough time to do that for every one of these. So it's kind of been a very slow learning process for all of them kind of at the same time. And I am much better at all these instruments than I was 10 years ago. But, I would definitely be better if I was, I would definitely be better if I focused, all my time into one of them for a year 2 years, something like that. But here's the best solution that I've found, and that is recording. Recording is the ultimate like multivitamin of learning for music. For me, that's been my experience, because when you record, you've got to play the instrument or part that you want to hear in your recording. You got to play it until you get it right. So sometimes you'll be playing the same thing over and over again, and you're really listening. When you listen back, you hear like, ooh, I don't like, how this part sounded. Like, I think I want to try and get it better. So you get better. I got a lot better at playing all of the instruments, because when I would be making recordings by myself, I would, play the drums, play the bass, play the guitar, do the singing. And so I needed to be able to do all of these on a level that was like, that sounded okay, that wasn't distractingly bad, to the best of my ability to make it just solid. And earlier on, what that involved was a lot of times, okay, I can't do this thing that I would like to be able to do, but I can do this one simpler thing. And if I just play this one simpler thing really tight and with good tone, like, that'll work. And I found that, you could, I had to do this a lot with drums. And I noticed, when I would make a song around a drum loop, I would be like, wow, this is just a repeating, simple, just like, it's just this repeating, simple drum beat, yet this song sounds, you almost don't even notice that it's that simple, because, other elements of the song are making it interesting, and the drums are just kind of providing like a framework. And, the certain repeating elements are just, they're kind of, creating a framework, that the rest of the melodic elements are furnishing. And so early on, I realized simple and solid can go a long way. You can create the complexity through other means other than a complex part, like a technically complex part on an instrument. You can make the complexity and the interest come from the overall picture of all of these different elements combined. And if you combine a bunch of simple elements, it can make for a very complex sound, where if you look at any one of the elements, it's simple. And I always found that comforting about, a lot of timeless music. A lot of times it's very simple. Or, you don't have to be like a prodigy to be able to play it. Like, any regular player can play it, but the idea as a whole is where what sets it apart. Also, like, just that idea of anything complex is just a bunch of really when you break it down enough, it's just a lot of simple actions can make combined something really complex and amazing. I can't think of a better example now, but I remember going down that train of thought before. And I think it was with the musical thing, because I think I was watching a video where somebody breaks down this really complicated sounding run of notes, where they're just like, it's like this, when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, one of those kind of things. And then he breaks it down, and it's just this repeating, 5-note, 4-note. It's this small repeating chunk, this small repeating pattern that just keeps moving. And so on that level, it's like very simple. But when you put it in the context of, having a bunch of those little simple things and then executed at, a high speed, it sounds really impressive. So, I don't know. That, I think I was thinking about that in the context of life in general, and kind of really started drawing a lot of connections between these just like fundamentals, like the execution of fundamentals, and then stacking those things. And that really, sometimes when you look at something, when you hear something really complicated, that's what you hear. You hear like this complicated, like how did that happen? Or how is that possible? When it gets broken down to a smaller level, at a certain point, it becomes something simple, and it's just a bunch of those things. Fractals. Duh, the universe is made of beans. Ugh. Okay, sorry. Ran out of stuff to say about that. Anyway, I really enjoyed that podcast with Lucas Bauman last week. He's got so many interesting things to say and really stimulates a lot of interesting topics when I talk about him. We could have talked for another 3 hours, I feel like. Had so much stuff I wanted to ask him that I forgot about, remembered later. But yeah, so hopefully we'll have another guest tomorrow. If that goes through, Shane McLaughlin of the band Buffalo Rose, he's planning on coming over tomorrow, and we want to have a conversation about music, about creativity, and he's in a band that does a lot of songwriting. The music in that band is very based around vocals, lyrics. It's a complete world in its own. Compared to instrumental music with none of that, They're, just words and singing, just a complete another world. And I like both worlds, and I've had a lot of enjoyment creating music in both worlds. So we'll see if that goes through tomorrow. That'll be great. And that's all I got. What do I have anything else? No, go to chalkdinosaur.com if you want to download the album. I put up the uncompressed AIF files in the chalkdinosaur.com online store. For any of you audiophiles out there, Uncle Tom, I'm looking at you. If you want those AIF files complete with the metadata, you can find them on chalkdinosaur.com. That's all I have. That's all I got for today. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Yep. Well, see you later.